Hello, BookTube. Who's up for some Wednesday mail? I've got a little stack of mail here. No boxes, but plenty of cardboard on a very, very overcast day here in Boston. Wasn't first thing this morning. First thing this morning, it was bright and sunny. But the clouds have been rolling in and getting thicker and thicker all day. And I have a feeling, I've been looking at weather charts and at Doppler shifts of, the radar that's moving, that watches storms moving across the country. And I think we're probably going to get socked with rain tonight. That's probably why this is like this, but it did not stop the mail. So let's go through this and see what we can find. What is this first one? What on earth is this? Okay, this is got to be a 2020 release. Yes, this is April. Good Lord, the winter will be over. Oh my, I am not looking forward to the winter. Last winter, I swear, it was incredibly mild. The winter here in Boston last year was incredibly mild, and still I felt like it was going to break me in half. What happens if this winter is severe? We've had severe winters, very severe, lots of snow, lots of cold. Last winter wasn't anything like that, but I don't like winter anymore at all. This will be April, when it'll all be a distant memory. This is The Planter of Modern Life, Louis Bromfield and the Seeds of a Food Revolution by Stephen Heyman. Reminds me of that, The Wizard and the Prophet. That book from, what's that, a couple of years ago? That was a really good book. This is a fascinating look at how a literary idol of the lost generation inspired America's organic and sustainable movement. Part Wendell Berry, part Anthony Bourdain, Louis Bromfield was a silver-tongued celebrity foodie, a passionate organic farmer, and a crusading environmentalist before such terms existed. He first rose to fame in the 1920s as a Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist with a green thumb. He built a beautiful garden outside Paris where he threw legendary parties that attracted the greatest lights of the literary era, including expat writers like Edith Wharton, Gertrude Stein, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Ernest Hemingway. His novels were all bestsellers, but Bromfield's greatest passion was the soil. In 1938, he returned to his native Ohio to transform 60 badly eroded acres into a utopian cooperative farm called Malabar. From his rural seat, Bromfield launched a national crusade to improve America's relationship with the land. Oh, wow. This is kind of an unknown story of Louis Bromfield. How fantastic. Okay, great. The author is a former features writer at the New York Times Style magazine and has written for Slate, Esquire, Travel and Leisure, and Vogue. And he lives in Pittsburgh. And I don't see any other book listed, so I'm assuming this is his first one. Fantastic. The Planter of Modern Life. Right, so this comes out in April. We don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it, but that sounds fascinating. All right, let's press right on here. All new books here today, although, as I mentioned in another video, I've been getting lots of response from a lot of you, how you really like it when I do used books. When I haul used books and talk about them, several of you who don't know each other have said the same kind of thing, which is that I talk differently about used books than I do about new books. I don't know how that could be. Well, except that I've read all the used books and I know them well. I've lived with them for a long time. But it's been fascinating. I might have to do more used book hauling because I aim to please. So what have we got here? This is... another 2020 release. This is Emily Neiman's The Cactus League, a novel called The Cactus League. In keeping with the work, Neiman's has a nose for discovering, because she became the new editor of the Paris Review last year. In keeping with the work that she has a nose for discovering, The Cactus League feels like little else happening in fiction at the moment. For starters, it's a baseball novel, a genre that hasn't seen much play since Chad Harbach's The Art of Fielding. But even more refreshingly different is the book's architecture. At its center is a simple dilemma. When Jason Goodyear, the face of the Los Angeles Lions franchise, reports to the Arizona desert for another year of spring training, something is wrong with the straight-edge, all-star outfielder. Something more than the pitches that seem to suddenly be missing his bat, and the uncharacteristic defensive miscues, even more mysterious than the sudden private divorce his fans have gleaned only morsels about from the tabloids. As the reader begins to wonder what is wrong with Goodyear, the action moves not forward, but laterally, through the interconnected characters who populate the Lions' spring training camp. Okay. Well, it comes out in February. I will give it a look see then. Do we have any kind of a date on this thing? I mean, a specific date? Oh yeah, okay, early February, February 4th. We shall see. Baseball novel, not exactly untrodden ground, but I'm sure I won't be the only person to read the new Paris Review editor's novel. So let's see what this next one is. Oh my. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, this is another 2020 book. Good Lord, we might get only 2020 books today. Wouldn't that be something? Okay, this is a March release. This is The Eye You See With, selected prose by Robert Stone, the novelist Robert Stone. The definitive collection of nonfiction, from war reporting to literary criticism to the sharpest political writing, from what Vanity Fair refers to as the legend of American letters. Robert Stone was a singular American writer, a visionary whose award-winning novels, including Dog Soldiers, Outerbridge Reach, and Damascus Gate is incredible, earned him comparisons to literary lions ranging from Samuel Beckett to Ernest Hemingway, there's him again, to Graham Greene. Stone had a near-prophetic grasp of the spirit of his age, which he captured with crystalline clarity in each of his novels. Okay, that might be going a little bit far. Well, what have we got here, though? What kinds of stuff are we talking about? The Red Badge of Courage, Uncle Sam Doesn't Want You, No Such Thing as Peace, 1984. So a mixture of political and literary writing. Okay, great. I don't know that I have a copy right now of any Robert Stone novels. I hope that I have Damascus Gate somewhere. But maybe I don't. If not, well, you all like it when I go used book shopping. Maybe I should go hunting for Robert Stone, for Damascus Gate. Let's see here. What is this next one? Oh no! Oh goodness! It's a double. Okay, this is another copy of Daisy Dunn's December release, The Shadow of Vesuvius, which is it's called A Life of Pliny, and I gather that it will be about both Pliny the Elder and Pliny the Younger. Just a story of them, of whatever we can glean from Pliny the Elder's life. He wrote an entire bookcase full of books. Just a prolific writer. Wrote all the time. In fact, devised and, of course, wrote a book about his system of how he writes all the time. A little spoiler for you. It involves having slaves to help you out. If you don't, his system's not going to work as well for you. But he was also a Roman administrator. And we can patch together quite a bit of his life. And he looked across the bay from his villa and saw Vesuvius erupting. And knew right away. He wrote not just poetry and history, but also tons of natural history. And he knew right away what a calamity it would be for the people who were trapped on the shores, and took a flotilla of ships to get those survivors off, to help as many of them as he could. He was scientifically curious. He was omnivorously curious about the natural world. And that has led idiotic commentators in lots of places, including once, much to my chagrin, in my beloved National Geographic. It makes lots of commentators say that he died sightseeing, basically. That he ordered his ships to take him in close to the volcano and died on the beach of, a heart attack brought on by the fact that he was breathing the noxious, heavy, ash-filled air. Well, that is not the case. It's not. There's no malice involved. When people do that, they are blackening the name of a courageous person, someone who was trying his best to save people. But Pliny the Younger was reading when Vesuvius erupted, and just kept reading. So he did not go. He did not die. Did not risk his life, and then went on to become a Roman official in his own right. Also prolific writer, who also wrote a treasure trove of letters that he then saved. He very conscientiously saved those letters, including letters back and forth with the Roman Emperor Trajan. And that is just a priceless look at the age of Pliny and all the stuff that was going on, the things that people were talking about. Okay, so this is a double of that book. This comes out in December. We'll see what we can do for it in December. Then we have a barrage of these. I didn't put all of them together. There's a bunch more of these white envelopes, and then we'll be done. Now, Oh, good. Okay, this is another December release, I believe. No, no, this is mid-November. This is it's not actually termed a YA novel, but it very much is one. And I read it, and I liked it quite a bit. Even though I lamented that it has the just a horrible title, we should embargo this title. No author should be allowed to call their book The Reckoning. But this is The Reckoning by Chris Green, and it's a Dark Storm novel. To my knowledge, I have not read any other Dark Storm novels, but I still enjoyed this one. This is the final book in Chris Green's exciting series about a young man who discovers that it's his destiny to lead the war against darkness. There's not much of Gabriel's life left ever since he discovered his true destiny as a warrior knight in the final battle against darkness. His life has been rife with soul-sucking demons and creatures straight out of the books he studied in college. His life is no longer ordinary. As a warrior, he has no choice but to fight for good, and if he screws up, the world is toast. And I enjoyed it, especially the last third of it was just ripping. And I thought the author did a fairly good job of catching me up to speed, because I didn't read any of the other books and never felt out of my depth. So that's great. That's great. I have a finished copy of that. Let's see, what is this next one? What have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. This is a November release. I've already praised this on this channel. Of course, I already read it. I could not stop myself from reading. I was going to put it off, but I dove right in. This is the new Joe Ledger novel, only this is a new Joe Ledger is leading a new team. He's an action hero. It's a regular series. The whole series is fantastic. Only now he has a whole bunch of new co-stars. The hero has a new bunch of co-stars. And this is by Jonathan Mayberry, and it's called Rage. It's the new Joe Ledger book. Rooted in the real world of geopolitical tensions. Rage is the first book in an exciting new spin-off from the Joe Ledger novels, all of which are fantastic. Don't miss them. And this is called Rogue Team International. Okay, that is nowhere on the cover. An exciting spin-off from his best-selling Joe Ledger novels called Rogue Team International. Okay. All right. It doesn't know that it's called that. But let's see here. A small island off the coast of Korea is torn apart by a bioweapon that drives everyone, men, women, and children, insane with murderous rage. So, in other words, it turns other countries into America. That's great. That's just what we need. The people behind the attack want Korea reunified or destroyed. No middle ground, no mercy. Soon, Japan, China, and the United States are pushed to the brink of war, while terrorists threaten to release the Rage bioweapon in a way of pure destructive slaughter. And cue Joe Ledger and his team to stop that from happening. So this comes out in early November. I have the finished copy. It would be the most grotesque dereliction of my reading duty to read this a second time. It would be. I simply must not do that. Then we have this last one, and then we'll be done. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. This last one of these enormous cardboard things. What have we got? Oh, great. Okay. This is also a November release. November is brutal. Just brutal. This is the finished copy of Danny Fingeroth's biography of Stan Lee, A Marvelous Life. I have had the advanced copy of this, and I haven't got to it, and it's due in the first week of November. So I really need to get to it. I really do. I need to get to quite a few of these. But that's good. That's actually what I use mail hauls, the books I get in the mail, stuff that I open with you. That's what I use a lot of it for, is just to determine either that night's TBR, that night's nightstand reading, or, the next day's. It's all a very active process. So that's what we have here. We have a biography of Stan Lee. This will be, Danny Fingeroth has a long history in the comics industry. I do not believe that this will be hard-hitting at all. There will be a big, really, really brilliant Stan Lee biography. There should be. One of the greatest creators of the 20th century, and certainly one with the largest reach in terms of cultural impact. But I don't think this will be that. I'd be very surprised. I'm not that there's a place in the world for sympathetic, empathetic biographies. There's a place for those. I've read plenty of those and like them. You can't help but, I've mentioned on this channel before that I have a very pronounced sweet tooth for reading authorized biographies. This is essentially that. And when you have a sweet tooth for authorized biographies, you can't help but read stuff that's gentle and sympathetic. There's a way to do it well. Well, I'll just have to hope that Danny Fingeroff does that. Then in The Shadow of Vesuvius, a Life of Pliny and a look at the age of Pliny. Then Rage by Jonathan Mayberry. Do not miss the Joe Ledger novels. If you like science fiction, action, adventure, God, this guy writes action scenes like nobody's business. It's incredible. The previous book, oh God, I don't remember what it was. He broke out with a book called Patient Zero, which I reviewed a million years ago, like 10 years ago. But okay, it doesn't list the earlier books. I think the last one was Dogs of War. I'm pretty sure that was the last one. One way or another, the last one in this series, the one before this, opens with a 15-page action sequence that will have you just holding your breath the whole time. It's incredible. Action sequences are very hard to do. But anyway, then we have The Reckoning, science fiction novel, late in the series, but if it intrigues you, I don't think you'll be hurt if you pick it up by itself. It didn't hurt me. Then The Eye You See With, collected nonfiction by Robert Stone. I'll be interested to see, when I finally get to it, what the percentage is of how much of it is literary. That'll probably determine whether or not I keep it. If a large part of it is literary, it'll go in the other room. It'll go in the little book room with all my literary books. Then a novel, The Cactus League, by the new editor of the Paris Review. And finally, a new biography of Louis Bromfield, the planter of modern life. It'll be a biography of him with an ecological slant to it. Isn't that fascinating? So there you go. That is a Wednesday mail haul as the storm clouds gather. I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, Book 2.